The house had been waiting for them. Its walls stood gray and cracked, its windows clouded with dust like blind eyes, and in front of it, stretching its twisted arms into the sky, stood the elm tree. Its trunk was thick, black veins carved into its bark, and even in daylight it seemed to breathe. The neighbors told the family that during the Civil War, soldiers and slaves had been dragged to this tree, their cries filling the night as ropes tightened around their necks. But the family laughed it away. They had no idea that by moving in, they had already been chosen. The first night, the storm came. Rain hammered the roof and rattled the shutters, and thunder shook the ground like the march of boots long buried. At 2 minutes to 3, the father stared out the window, unable to sleep. Lightning cracked open the sky, and for a split second he saw them, ropes, heavy and wet, swinging from the elm tree. And on those ropes, bodies, dozens of them, some missing eyes, some with swollen tongues hanging from their mouths, all twisting slowly in the wind. He blinked, and they were gone, but the sound remained. A low, choking gasp, followed by the sudden, sharp snap of a neck breaking. The noise crawled into the house, echoing in the walls. He could not breathe. The second night was worse. At exactly 3 a.m., the house itself began to stir. The wooden floor creaked, though no one walked. The doors rattled, though no wind blew inside. Then came the dragging sound. Something heavy scraped across the hallway, rope rubbing against wood. The mother clutched her blanket, but the sound moved closer, closer, stopping just outside the bedroom door. She found the courage to go to the bathroom, to splash her face with water. But when she looked up, her reflection was no longer hers. In the mirror she was dangling, neck snapped, tongue purple, eyes rolled back, her feet twitching in the air. She screamed and fell backward, but when she looked again, the reflection was gone. The bathroom was silent, except for the whisper, thin and soft, sliding into her ears. Join us. The third night, their son vanished. He had been crying for hours, covering his ears against the whispers that crept through the house. Just before dawn, he slipped out of bed and crept to the elm tree. The ground was soaked with rain, and the air smelled like rotting meat. He pressed his small hands to the bark and saw it bleed. Thick, dark blood ran from the cracks in the wood. His breath came out in short bursts. Then a rope fell from above, slapping against his shoulder like a hand. Before he could scream, it tightened around his throat. His eyes bulged, his mouth opened in a silent cry, and his body jerked upward. Lightning illuminated him, twisting among invisible figures. By morning, his parents found him at the base of the tree. No rope, no shadow, only the angry red grooves cut deep into his neck. The days that followed were filled with silence. No birds sang near the elm. No neighbor dared to look at the house. But at night, the mirrors told the truth. The father looked into the hallway mirror and saw himself swaying in the air, his feet a few inches off the floor. The mother stood before the bedroom mirror and saw her children hanging beside her, all of them limp, their faces drained of life. Even the youngest child saw it, his own reflection, with eyes glassy and dead. The mirrors dripped blood, thick drops sliding down the glass, but when touched, nothing was there. The reflections grinned, mocking, waiting. The final night was the worst. The storm returned fiercer than before. The tree outside groaned as if alive, its branches clawing at the sky. At 3 o'clock, the air in the house turned icy. The lights flickered. and then they saw them. 13 shadows emerged beneath the elm, swaying forward, their robes dragging in the mud. They had no eyes, only dark pits, but their heads tilted back to stare at the windows of the house. Slowly, painfully, they walked closer. Inside, the family clutched each other, praying it would pass. But the shadows seeped through the walls like smoke. The sound of ropes tightening filled the room over and over until it drowned out their screams. One by one, they felt the pull. Invisible coils coiled around their necks, burning, squeezing, crushing. They clawed at the air, their nails tearing their own skin. Their voices cracked into silence as their bodies lifted from the floor, jerking violently, bones snapping like dry sticks. Their eyes rolled back, their tongues swelled, blood ran from their mouths, their feet kicked desperately, but then slowed, until they swung silently in the air. The house was filled with the smell of death, the ropes creaking, the bodies twitching, until nothing moved. When the storm ended, the night fell silent again. The house stood still, the windows empty, the halls quiet. At dawn, the neighbors came. They found the doors locked, the house dark. But when they looked at the elm tree, their hearts froze. From its branches, 5 new bodies swayed, turning gently in the morning breeze. The father, the mother, the children, their faces pale, their eyes open. The tree creaked softly as if sighing with satisfaction. The hanging tree had claimed them, and it was not finished. It was never finished. The walls of the prison were cold, built of stone that seemed to remember every scream, every prayer, every last breath ever trapped inside. In one of the smaller cells, a man sat on a chair, pale and worn, with dark hollows beneath his eyes. He was waiting for death. His execution was only hours away. Across from him sat his lawyer, a stack of papers open. Though both men knew the law would not save him, the sentence had been passed. There was no reprieve. Still, the prisoner wanted his story heard. "I'm not insane," he whispered, his voice raw. "What I'm about to tell you sounds impossible, but every word is true." The lawyer sighed, picked up his pen, and nodded for him to begin. It started when he was a boy. He and a childhood friend were playing in a park when he first noticed the strange figure. A little boy in a green baseball cap, no older than 7 or 8. The child stood there, watching with an unsettling smile. At the time, nothing seemed wrong. But only days later, tragedy struck. His best friend was killed in a car accident. What haunted him most wasn't the death itself. It was what he saw moments before it happened. The same little boy stood by the roadside, smiling, eyes fixed on him. Years passed, but the boy never went away. He appeared again when his mother was in the hospital, dying slowly. The man saw the child in the corridor, leaning against the wall, grinning. And then, within the hour, his mother was gone. The boy appeared at school, at funerals, on quiet streets. Every time, someone died. Every time, loss followed. The worst part was his face, so ordinary, so childlike, yet with eyes that were not human. His smile carried no innocence, only cruelty. When he found love, he thought perhaps he had finally escaped. He was happy, engaged, ready for a new life. But the night before his wedding, he saw the boy again, standing outside the church. The next morning, his bride-to-be was dead in a car accident. pattern too precise to deny. Wherever the little boy appeared, death followed. At first, he thought he was losing his mind. Maybe it was hallucinations, grief, twisting into madness. But no, others reacted too, though they could never quite explain it. Children cried when the boy was near. Animals snarled or fled. Something about him was wrong. And then came the day that broke him. The boy targeted someone else he loved, tormenting them, circling their life like a vulture. The prisoner couldn't take it anymore. He had to fight back. He followed the boy one evening down a narrow alley, heart pounding with rage and fear. He pulled a gun, raised it, and fired. The boy crumpled, blood blooming across his small shirt. For a moment, there was silence, relief, freedom. But when the police arrived, everything changed. They didn't see a monster. They saw only a child. A real child, 12 years old, with a name, a record. A grieving mother who came screaming into the street. The man tried to explain. He shouted that it wasn't a child, it was something else, something ancient and evil. He begged them to listen, but the world did not believe him. The court called him a murderer. The newspapers called him insane. The jury sentenced him to death. Now, in the cold cell, he leaned forward, his voice desperate. "You don't understand. I didn't kill a child. I tried to kill it. That thing has been following me my whole life. And I failed. It's still out there. It's waiting." The lawyer rubbed his forehead. "You shot a boy. That's what happened." "No," the prisoner hissed. His eyes burned with tears. "Look for him. He'll come. He always comes. Maybe for you. Maybe for your child. Maybe for someone you love." And then it happened. A sound, faint but clear, drifted down the corridor. Laughter. The lawyer froze. He turned his head, heart racing. For the briefest moment, he thought he saw him. A small boy in a green baseball cap, standing in the shadow just beyond the bars, smiling. But when he blinked, the space was empty. When the guards came to take the man to the execution chamber, he fought them, screaming, "He's here! He's here! You can't see him, but he's here!" His cries echoed down the stone hallways until they were drowned out by the crackling hum of the electric chair. The switch was thrown. The body jerked, and then it was still. But the curse was not gone. Later that night, as the chamber was cleared, one guard lingered by the door. He swore he heard laughter again, soft and cruel. Turning, he caught sight of a small boy in a green cap, grinning with dark, bottomless eyes. The guard's blood ran cold, because the bad little kid was not finished. He was never finished.